Welcome, everyone. This is Greg Rock, and on behalf of BPM Institute and the folks at Pallas Athena, I'd like to welcome you to today's roundtable, The Power of Process Mining, Saving Significant Money and Time Over Traditional BPM Approaches. As many of you know, in addition to our roundtable series, BPM Institute promotes knowledge sharing and networking amongst our members and the BPM community at large through our website, our conference series, our certificate of training program, BPM Strategies magazine, and our various electronic bulletins and newsletters. You can find additional details on those on bpminstitute.org. I have just a couple quick housekeeping items, and we're going to get right underway today. We're lucky enough to have Lynn Hogue with us, and Lynn is the president of Pallas Athena USA. And we're going to be touching on a topic that may be new to some of you around process mining. And at the recent Gartner event that I was able to attend in London last month, Janelle Hill, who is one of our editorial board members and a familiar face to the BPM community, had spent a significant amount of her time talking about the power of process mining and how it's really helping companies to visualize bottlenecks within the organizations, opportunities for improvements, and streamlining the discovery process. And so we invited the folks from Pallas Athena to come down to share with our community a little bit more about process mining and specifically their solutions, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Lynn has prepared some slides for us as well as a demo of the product, and we even have a special offer, as many of you may have seen in the promotion. There'll be a drawing following the webcast for folks to win a free process mining session, which is a $5,000 value, and Lynn, we appreciate Pallas Athena making that available exclusively for our members, so thank you very much for that. So back to our topic at hand. BPM process mining is a new topic, but I think folks will be very impressed on the visual display of how the product works as well as the capabilities that have been built in. We're going to go through a few approaches today that are going to help folks be able to move their projects along much, much quicker, creating process diagrams that can show you where the bottlenecks are, saving a tremendous amount of time and money. And the product is also capable of handling complex processes without a lot of the typical modeling that you find in some of the other solutions that are in the marketplace. Lynn comes with us with 20 years of experience in the areas of compliance and enterprise content and business process improvement. And so we're thrilled that you can join us today, Lynn, and I'd like to turn things over to you at this time.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks for the introduction, and welcome, everyone. My name is Lynn Hogue. As Greg mentioned, I'm president of Pallas Athena USA, the U.S. subsidiary of the international Pallas Athena International Companies. And today we have, I think, a pretty exciting agenda. We're going to look at some of the traditional BPM technology that most of you are familiar with. We're going to look at what today is the state of the art in what we call the BPM life cycle. We're going to look at traditional BPM project approaches. The main topic is process mining. It's an exciting, new, and efficient technology. We'll look at the value proposition for process mining and what the analysts are saying about it. We'll show you some real-world examples, and we'll also show you a live demo. So let's get started. The history of BPM technology really is a seven-step approach. No matter how you break it down or what vendor you may have seen or may have implemented, it always starts with an analysis. And from there, once you have an analysis of the current processes, you start modeling. You start modeling and then designing your new processes, your improvements. You simulate and animate those improvements. You integrate then with outside systems, legacy applications, etc. You then execute and move that into a production environment. And then you have a variety of reporting needs and requirements. So this is pretty typical. What we see today, though, is a significant shift in the paradigm of BPM lifecycle. So Our process actually starts with the process mining capability, actually before any modeling occurs, because the process mining capability actually creates models. From there, we move through the simulation animation as you would do in a traditional sense, and then you move to business process adaptation. And this is where we really see business agility. For Pallas Athena, significant case management capabilities, and then of course we end with reporting or advanced reporting with business activity monitoring. So where does a traditional BPM project start? For Pallas Athena, like everyone else in the industry, it has always started in a conference room on a whiteboard with a group of people from the business and a discussion about what the existing processes look like. You draw pretty pictures. It's a communication, a knowledge transfer from the customer to the vendor or to the consultant who's trying to understand what these processes are all about. And as you might expect, sometimes those discussions get rather heated. So here we have, in this cartoon, lampooning what that discussion could look like, and the caption reads, we made a miscalculation, but it's consistent with our overall strategy. And as you can see, there's a pretty significant reduction there at the end. So this is just meant to show you what is typical in some of these project design sessions. So what's the problem with the traditional BPM modeling? Why did we create this process mining technology? And what are its benefits? First of all, the problem is that whole analysis and modeling process is very time-consuming. In our own projects and projects we've seen from other vendors in the industry, it is not uncommon to spend months, and in many cases, many, many months, just analyzing all of the different processes and sub-processes and roles and responsibilities that are involved in these types of complex business cases. Many times, or most of the time actually, the results are based on speculation and conjecture, where the business owners don't really know precisely how the process works. They know that they've been doing it this way or that way for many, many years, but some of the assumptions are not accurate. As a result of this long, complex process, you can imagine that analysis phase is pretty costly. And it can also be highly politicized. So if you have groups within that conference room that have various internal agendas, the results are not necessarily accurate and again could be highly politicized. In the end, we found that traditional BPM modeling is not accurate nor efficient, and so we looked for an alternative, which in our case was developing the process mining technology. Now, according to Jim Siner, who's one of Janelle's colleagues at the Gartner Group, they've started to really look at this technology, and in their acronym, Automated Business Process Discovery is what they're calling it. They have said that the efforts have delivered significant benefits totaling in the millions of dollars. And that is not uncommon in some of these large requirements that we have seen. Some of the early benefits include, of course, the cost reduction, identifying the standard best practices. The technology is used to better leverage the resources to avoid errors and redoing of steps, reduction in delays, early detection of outlying conditions that threaten the process, the ability to jump on problems early, unique insights, and of course, avoiding misleading or missed service level agreements. So there's a lot of benefit to this process discovery, process mining capability. So what is process mining? For us, it's an exclusive. It is the ability to take live data from the customer and automatically reconstruct the underlying business processes. There is no guesswork to it. There's no more speculation. It is accurate, it is perfect, and giving you an exacting view of what the existing process, the historical processes, have looked like. There are no internal politics involved. So for us, it is a tremendous baseline for what is going on within the customer, and then what we can do, what our experience tells us best, and that is seeing how to improve those existing processes, and that's where we really want to spend our time. So here, this cartoon kind of tells you what the result is, where, you know, the business workers are telling management, well, gentlemen, there's your problem. You see that there's a crack in the cash flow, but you don't really know, you know, how it occurred or when it occurred, and so there's an opportunity to fix a very important problem. In the current economic climate, now especially, there are a lot of demands for efficient, transparent, compliant, and cost savings in the business processes. Although there, you know, is a downturn in the overall economy, we're seeing more and more companies open to the concept of improving efficiencies now, not because they want to, but because they need to be more competitive. So our business is growing tremendously even in these times. The question is, how do you create these efficiencies, these transparencies, and these cost reductions? For us, it starts with using the process mining capability, and we want to walk you through how that works. The basic concept is to extract process knowledge from existing logs, databases, legacy systems, ERP systems, anywhere where data exists about these processes. The interesting part is that for most companies, it's not just housed in one particular system, but there are multiple systems. So the ability to assemble the data into a meaningful form is what we really spend most of our time with. So we take that information about who did what, when did they do it, how did they do it, and transform that automatically into information that makes sense in a process-oriented way. And let me underscore that again. It's a process-oriented way. So the system understands the data, interprets it, and then creates from there the process models. So there's really no human intervention in drawing the pretty pictures that we're all so used to. We can then from there automatically create a variety of different social networks for discovery, different animations to show the movement from one step or one person to the other. There's a variety of advanced analysis and charting capabilities, which, as Greg said, gives you perfect insight into the bottlenecks. Now, the interesting thing is that the process mining technology is not just a front-end business discovery capability. We found 7 different uses for the technology throughout the process life cycle. And so we start with, of course, the process discovery on the front end, but we've also used it in some significant projects for compliance checks and auditing, for managing risk and improving the transparency that organizations are now mandated to improve then the service level agreements and benchmarking, improving the resource utilization, going back to some of the models that you will see, and as a back-end process analytics. So benchmarking it throughout the process and then being able to say, well, how did we do? So this is important. It's not just a technology on the front end. It can be used throughout the life cycle. So here comes the value proposition. The value is that, as Greg mentioned and is the title, you can really save a lot of money and time by using the technology. So on the left, you see a traditional process modeling approach. It starts with meeting with the client to discuss the process. You've got some consultants, and they're on site for a period of time, again, gaining information and access about what the processes look like. Then manually building those processes from the discussion with the clients, making changes to them, refining them over time, and then implementing those processes when you're ready to go. On the right, you've got the process mining, which is meeting with the client, reviewing and examining the data files, massaging them into a format as needed, run the data through the process mining solution, which you'll see here in a few minutes takes, seconds to minutes, and then review those results with simulation, make required changes, and then you're in production. So showing you what a savings could look like in each of the processes. Again, multiply this times how many processes are you looking to automate, 2, 3, 5, and multiply that times the dollar savings, and you'll see a tremendous benefit. So on the traditional side, if you have consultants or a vendor who's on site for perhaps 2 to 6 months at a standard industry rate of, let's say, $2,000 a day plus expenses, you then have a total cost of anywhere from $80,000 to $240,000. And that's just in the analysis phase. And that's not uncommon from a lot of the vendors in the industry. On the flip side, using the process mining technology, you can shorten that to a week or perhaps 2 weeks using the same $2,000 a day plus expenses. You can see now the dramatic savings in cost and the savings in time and being able to jumpstart the process. So let's take a look at a couple real-world examples. The first example comes from one of our customers who is a large aerospace company, and their application was an IT help desk solution. So they had a legacy system, but they found that they were really missing some of their service level agreements with their IT help desk. So using the technology, the process mining showed that the incidents were not resolved in a timely manner, leading to extra cost and wasted time. So it showed performance in some cases of more than 3 times the desired SLA. Switching to another customer in the professional services market, here a legacy system. The system which supported the service process turned out to have several human points of failure. So you can see in this social network diagram that there are several individuals who are absolutely key and handle a bulk of the cases that run through this particular process in any given period of time. And what the company decided to do was to add additional resources to reduce the workload and streamline and distribute the process. Very simple. In this case, a legacy application showed that the process analytics provided key decision criteria. On the right, you see the legend which shows each case type. In the case of the IT help desk, how many of the call-ins to the help desk were related to software, how many were related to hardware, how many were related to passwords and and various applications, etc. So it gave them tremendous insight into the types of calls and the durations of calls, and they were able to then easily make some key decisions. Switching to the financial services market, another customer implementing process mining and BPM for accounts payable saw that there was a high throughput time but very few cases handled by this particular process. So it revealed that one office was not performing as well as it should. So again, some key analytics. The analytics from the process also helped to reduce the time and the cost by examining the activity frequencies. And here we show one of the charts that's automatically created that gives you a percentage and total breakdown on a case-by-case basis. So once we're finished with the process mining, of course then there are some enhancements to be made. For Pallas Athena, we have a very robust design tool called BPM Design, where we then import the process models and we make changes to the process, changes to the roles, add different rules, etc., again to focus on the enhancements that we're making. From there, after the enhancements to the process are made in BPM Design, we move that into our runtime environment, which includes, again, a lot of robust case management capabilities, so moving it from the design into the production environment. As Greg mentioned, one of our attendees today is going to receive a free process mining session, and we'll contact the winner after the session. So let's go ahead and see how it works. I'm going to switch over then to our mining environment, and this is what our mining framework looks like. First thing I want to do is show you a little bit of an overview. In this particular case, the summary tells us that we're working with 13 activities. We have a total of 1,262 cases, 15,434 events in the process, and in total elapsed time, the data is a little more than, 2 years, from October 23rd, 2006 to October 16th, 2008. So the next thing I want to do is I want to mine the process, and I want to see what 50% of the process steps might look like. So I change the 100 to 50, and you see that it starts to draw the process diagram automatically. So it's now reading through the data, the 15,000 some different events that occurred in this particular log file over a 2-year period to start to draw the events. I'm going to cancel it at this point and show you what that looks like at 90%. So you saw that at 50% you were moving pretty much straight down the middle. At 90% you only have very few deviations to the process. And at 100% you see that it changes again, adding significant complexity. This is not unusual. It is very, very common that 50, 60, 70, or even 80% of the incidences or cases that go through a business process are handled very easily and very straightforward. It's then the 5, 10, or 15% of the cases that really handle or make the exception. Next, I want to go ahead and turn to a different process model and show you what it looks like at 50%, show you what it looks like at 75%, And here you'll get a really good view that it's only the last number of percent that really adds complexity to the process. And this is a good thing to know and to understand. So you're able to then focus on the small number of steps and not waste a lot of time on the steps that are really going through the process very well. Here, I'll change from a case process to a social network. So let me switch again to 50%. So 50% of the cases looked like this from a social network perspective. I'll switch it to 75%, and you see that it added a little bit, but not a lot of complexity. I move it up to the 80 to 90%, and now you're starting to see more and more interaction between the people. Again, a social network tracks the movement of cases between people, departments, workers, etc. Okay? Now we want to move to some of the other parts of the process, which include animations. So I want to animate a process model, and I'm going to generate the animation. So here you see that the colored balls that are moving through the process represent a case. So it's very obvious and very visual to be able to see where the cases are going, how much time is spent, and where there are potential bottlenecks. So I'm going to stop that process here so that you can see the area in the middle represents two very key steps in the process, because a majority of the cases are actually going through here. And then you only have a few number of exceptions that are going into these areas. The timeline at the bottom represents the total elapsed time, and the duration represents how much time are we showing the animation across time, meaning now we're set up to show 2 years worth of effort, again 2006 to 2008, show all of that in 30 seconds. What if I change it to 100 seconds? And you'll see that the duration, or how the particular cases move, is greatly reduced. So now they're moving much, much slower through the process because we've extended the period of time, the duration. I want to then change to a social network. Whoops. And show it at 50% and generate the animation. You see that it's pretty well distributed across all of these different nodes in the social network. And when we really focus on the what's called the executor, you'll see that the cases flow through in a different pattern. When I select the social network at 100%, you'll see different animations. Here's the process animation. And here, this particular animation includes a legend at the side that shows you the different color balls represented with each of the different categories. So here the legend at the top reads numbers of cases, and here it's the average throughput time. The timeline is moving slowly across. I'll go ahead and accelerate it so that you can see more and more of the legend is being created over time. And if I show this in a social network scheme, again with the same numbers of cases and average throughput time legend at the right, you'll see how that looks from a social network perspective. Again, all of this information was built and displayed using real customer data without any human intervention other than taking the data from the customer, massaging it, putting it in process context, and then being able to run it through the process mining tool itself. As a result, we also have different reporting capabilities or charting. Here we'll show an activity frequency. This is the same type of chart you saw earlier in the slide. So in this particular case, it says register receipt of documents. That step happened 1,969 times and is represented by 1.3% of the total cases that ran through. So this is very powerful information. Here you have a case type histogram which shows all of the data going through in a slightly different context. And the third is the number of activities per employee. So looking at it from a social network perspective, you see that there are certain employees who handle a large number of the cases that flow through this particular business process. With that, I'd like to turn it back to Greg and thank everybody for attending. It's been a pleasure being with you. You can certainly contact us at any time. We'll be engaging with the winner of the process mining session, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon. Thank you.
All right, Lynn. Thank you for doing such a great job. I think this concept of process mining is an important one. I think for many of you, it may become the latest weapon in your continuous process improvement arsenal. If either for yourself or for other individuals in the organization, especially folks on the business side, I think it's just incredibly helpful to be able to present folks a visual representation of the processes and the bottlenecks that are occurring, and Pallas Athena has done a fantastic job of packaging that up. Lynn, if I could ask you just to talk for a second about what type of options do folks have for accessing your solution?
Well, that's a great question. There are several ways to use the technology. The first for customers, Pallas Athena customers or other vendor customers, we sell the license to be able to use it on an unlimited basis. So a standard license agreement type of model which gives companies unlimited use and access to the process mining capability. It requires a small amount of training to understand how to interpret the data, and then we've seen customers really take advantage of it across their enterprises very, very quickly, making very dramatic, having very dramatic results. The others for organizations who may only have a small number of processes that they want to go ahead and mine. We've just announced a new software as a service model which allows a user to take data, to submit it via the software as a service over the internet, and then we deliver the results as well as a variety of different analysis back to the customer with all of the animations and things like things that you've seen today. So there are two real main methods to access the technology, one from a traditional software license, unlimited use, and the other as a software as a service. In either case, the results are just dramatic.
All right, Lynn, thank you very much. Well, I really want to thank you, Lynn, for coming down and doing a great job of encapsulating this new area for our community and for Pallas Athena hosting this webcast. For those of you who are lucky enough to be located in the Midwest, or the immediate Chicago area, you can meet Lynn and see some of their products live in action at our upcoming Brainstorm Chicago event. We'll be there April 6th through 9, and we're happy to have Pallas Athena with us at that event as well. I'd like to thank everybody for their time today. We look forward to hosting you on a future roundtable, and we'll reach out to that lucky individual who won the free process mining session. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you, Greg. We appreciate everybody's time as well, and enjoy your day.